Here are 8 ways to ruin your retirement, coming from someone who's been in the retirement planning industry for nearly 20 years. Acting like you have unlimited time. And I had a conversation with a client just yesterday who's in an industry where you could work into your 70s or 80s and still make a good income and kind of work part-time, and it's very flexible, but it was always that one more year. The little itch that you get to work that little bit longer. There's always another year. You can always work a little bit longer. But I told him, look, talk to people that worked into their 70s, even their 80s, and ask them if they're glad they did or they wish they had retired earlier. And the response he's going to get 99% of the time is, no, I wish I retired earlier. When you're in it, it's hard to kind of separate out of it. So don't fall into the one more year syndrome. A lot of us fall into that, and it's costing us great years of our go-go years. So stop the procrastination, figure out when you can retire, and make that retirement date. The second big mistake is people holding their money close to their chest. And this is a very natural thing, right? When we walk into retirement, we have this psychological transition from save to spend. And it's spending your own money. And most of us like to watch our investment accounts go up, right? That's why when the market corrects and our investments go down, we start to get a little uneasy. Well, in theory, a similar concept happens when you hit retirement. You're going to start drawing down your money, and your investment portfolio account is going to decrease in value for most of you. Unless you have millions of dollars, your accounts are going to decrease in value. And that is a psychological shift. So for most of you in those earlier years of retirement, especially year 1 to 3 of retirement, most of you are not spending enough money. And tip number 8 here that comes up will help you walk through that, but you need to make sure you're spending money in those first few years. Remember, for most of you, you only have 10, maybe 15 years of go-go years in retirement. Those are the years when you're healthy, you can travel, do stuff, whatever's on your bucket list. That is your bucket list time for most of you. And so if you only have, say, 15 years on the high end, but you're burning 3, maybe 4 or 5 of them to not spending enough because you're not sure, you're holding your money close to your chest, that's a really costly mistake. The third thing that can ruin your retirement is retiring to nothing. And a lot of you, that's the case. I always say you want to retire to something, not from something. And I get it. A lot of you are retired with your jobs, etc., and you are retiring out of your job, but you need to make sure you're retiring to something. So if you're getting closer to retirement or it's a conversation in your house, what are you retiring to? These are hobbies, whatever it is, you can start kind of building up and creating long before you retire. So you might be retiring to golf, tennis, it might be a bridge club, whatever. Everyone's got their hobbies. But figure out what you're going to retire to and start kind of building up that hobby or exercise or whatever it is that's going to be years before you retire. Because I can tell you firsthand, I've seen people in very similar situations retire, and one retires to nothing other than a couch and a TV, and they sit around and don't do a whole lot. And the other person retired to a farm and hobbies and movement and all, and the lifestyle and their health were very, very different. The fourth thing, which ties into number 3, is taking care of your health. Not taking care of your health can ruin your retirement. So if you want to avoid that, you need to take care of your health. You need to move. You need to take medications. You need to see your doctor. You need to do the things. And as you all know, most of you watching this video are in your 40s, 50s, or older. Things start to erode and your health starts to go away. And you have to actually take action. Remember back in your 20s, 30s, even your 40s, you could kind of do nothing and get away with it. But through your 40s, I'm feeling it right now. I'm in my 40s. I'm feeling it, right? Like I actually have to put in a very good effort to keep up health. I have to eat well. I have to exercise many times a day. And I have to, do that to keep my health. I have 4 young kids. Right? And I'm going to need to do that for the rest of my life. And so do you. You have to take care of your health, right? There's lots of people that have said, you can have all the money in the world, but without your health, it's not worth anything. And it's so true, right? You could have worked all these years to get to this point of retirement, and you stop taking care of your health and you can no longer do the things you want to do. And I had this conversation actually with a family member the other day. They had some friends that retired, and he retired to nothing. Like he just stone cold sat on a couch and didn't activate his brain, and now he has Alzheimer's. And so, not that that's going to happen, but it could happen, right? We want to keep the brain going, the body going, take care of your health. The fifth thing that can ruin your retirement is avoiding social connections. And I think for some of you, your job has been overstimulation and you're really looking forward to kind of taking a step back, not having Jim and Sally beaking in your ear all the time at work, and just having some peace and quiet. And that's totally great. But you still need to have that social interaction. So find an environment that you can thrive in through retirement. And this might tie back to, keeping busy and doing something, joining a club or a hobby or whatever it is. That could be part of your social connection and social environment. But you can't go become a hermit in retirement. You need to have that social connection. That's part of keeping the brain going, right? Having active conversations, having dialogue. These are things that keep the brain healthy and moving. So again, going back to the health, it's your body, but it's also your mind. And part of that mind is having some social connection. So for a lot of you, your work is your social connection. A lot of you get that social energy and connection and chat through your work environment, and that's totally normal. But when that goes away, what's going to replace that? And you have to be active. For most of you, you actually have to be active in figuring out what's going to replace that when you hit retirement. The sixth thing that can ruin your retirement is making emotional decisions. And we all do this, but in retirement, it can be that much more costly. So you really want to be aware of your plan, your goal going forward, the roadmap, what that looks like. And I'll give you an example of an emotional decision. I was talking to someone just the other day, and they said, Adam, I timed the last market correction perfectly. April 1st, I got out. April 2nd, the market crashed from tariffs. And then a few weeks later, I got back in. And I timed it perfectly. And I said, did you time the upswing? Did you time the downs? It's never perfect. It's good. You probably did a great job. And they said, yeah, you're right. I did a really good job. It wasn't perfect, but I made some extra money. And I said, well, how much extra money did you make? And she goes, well, a couple $1,000s, which is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong. I said, did you lose sleep over it? Did you stress about it? You're still thinking about it, obviously. And she goes, oh, I lost so much sleep over it. It drove me crazy. It probably took a couple years off my life. And this is what a lot of you are doing. You're making these emotional decisions, whether it's around, timing market. If you're a DIY investor, managing your money, timing the market, all of that, and you start making emotional decisions versus financial decisions. A lot of you in retirement, you say, well, this is the last chance I get to buy this car, so I'm going to go spend a ton of money on a vehicle that maybe you don't have, right? There's many things you can do on the emotional decision making that hasn't tied in the financial aspect. So figure out, is this an emotional decision or is it a financial decision? And it's fine to make emotional decisions. Those need to be made throughout life. Absolutely. But a lot of the emotional decisions that you make, especially in retirement, have to layer in a financial piece to it. Number 7 on our list of ruining your retirement is not pursuing passion. And this is something for a lot of us, we have a job that we're passionate about. I know some of you don't. You show up 9 to 5 and just to check the box and get a paycheck and pay the bills. But for a lot of you, you've had a passion in your career. And when you walk away from that passion, there's a bit of a bucket that gets emptied out. And we need to fill up that bucket back up. And that's often pursuing some passion. And it might be a different passion. It could be the same. If you have a passion we have some clients that are accountants, right? And their passion is accounting. And I don't know how that's passion, but for some of you, bless your heart, accounting's your passion. So if that's your passion and you retire from accounting, continue that passion. There are organizations that need help with accounting. There are probably seniors or people in your area that can't afford an accountant that need some help, right? There's ways to take your passion, your hobby, your love, and bring it forward into retirement, whatever that looks like, right? Maybe your passion is golf and you want to start giving golf lessons or whatever it is. There's so many ways to do it. And so figure out, what is your passion? We all have a passion. And if you don't think you have a passion, talk to people around you. You're probably passionate about something, right? It might even be, politics, religion. It could be anything. But take that passion and use it for good and pursue that passion through retirement. And it really will tie into all these other things, right? Health and movement and, retiring to something. All these things kind of layer in together. So figure out what your passion is. Again, if you don't know what your passion is, ask people around you. I can almost guarantee you they will know your passion. My wife would know my passion, right? Because I'm passionate about it. So ask people around you and they'll be able to help you walk into this one. The 8th and final thing that can ruin your retirement, and probably the biggest one that actually ties into the first 7, would be To make sure you retire with a retirement plan. Walking into retirement, the best way to ruin it is not have a plan, right? It's like anything. If you're going on a trip, it's like, yeah, we're going to Mexico. Well, where are you going? I don't know. I'm just going to show up at the airport. I'm going to show up at Puerto Vallarta and just hopefully it works out. But that's the way a lot of you are doing retirement. Most of you, hopefully the majority of you, have never walked into retirement. This is a brand new facet of life. And so you need to make sure you have a really good plan. You know, when I talked about holding money close to the chest? Well, guess what? If you have a plan and you know exactly what you can spend, then you can go spend it freely. Like most people hold their money close to their chest because, and it's a good fear, but you're fearful of running out of money. Well, if you have a plan that shows this is what you can spend without running out of money on a conservative basis, well, then you can go spend that money. So it frees you up to enjoy retirement. And I've always said, retirement is about 90% psychological, 10% financial. But the 10% financial is the foundation. That's what you have to get structured first, right? That's the foundation. If you don't have that foundation, the other 90% psychological, it'll just sink. You're on sand at that point, right? You need that solid foundation. If you're walking into retirement and you don't know how much money you can draw, if you don't know where that money should come from, if you don't know how much tax you're paying and how to reduce it, if you don't know when to take your government benefits, Canada Pension Plan and Old Age Security, if you don't know, questions around your LIRA accounts, your pension account, how to convert your RSP to a RIF, all these factors that come into play into retirement. If you don't know those answers, you need to get a retirement plan in place. It'll answer all of that. And if you need help with that, reach out to our office. We'd love to help you. Hopefully you have someone in your life that's been walking you through this, but can they do retirement planning? Have that conversation with them. Again, maybe you have a financial planner that can map out a great retirement plan. Sit down with him or her and have them do that. But again, if you need help, reach out to our office. We'd love to help you out walking into retirement in a much better place. You can learn more about our services at parallelwealth.com/planning. We do fee-for-service retirement planning. So we grab your information and we map out exactly that. Number 8, what ruins so many people's retirement, not having a plan. So if you want a plan, if you want a better structure, if you want to save taxes in retirement, know where your money's coming from, and even know if you can retire, like when is that date? Reach out to our office. We'd love to help you.